Hello. We find ourselves under the Infiniti M45 again, 2006. And today's task is to replace, drain and refill the differential fluid, the differential gear oil. And this is the differential, aka the pumpkin. Leads to the axles, to the wheel. This is on the rear side of the vehicle. I'm only dealing with the rear one. The tools of the trade are one, well, mine's a little crappy, but you need a 10mm hex socket. So here it is. You need the fluid itself. 80 W90 is what I use. It's GL5 oil, which is what the manual calls for. The manual says you're going to use about approximately 1.5 liters, which is 3 pints. And these are 1 quart bottles. 1 quart, 2 pints. That means 2 bottles should take care of the, 3 bottles should take care of 2 jobs, so to say. 1.5 per vehicle. It's not exact. That's why they say approximately. You need a way to collect your old gear oil as it drains from here. And of course, you need a way to clean up your mess. That's why I have a roll of paper towels. You need to identify where your drain plug is, right here. And you need to identify your fill port as well. And so the fill plug is right here. You see that right under the ABS sensor? This is the rear ABS sensor, by the way. It reads off those rings and the axles. Good practice is, first off, before you go draining this thing, you need to make sure that you can fill it back up. So the first thing we usually do for differential is check the fill plug. Try to remove that, then you can remove that. And I should also mention that there are washers here and behind the other plug, and you're not supposed to reuse them according to the manual. So source them. I don't know where to, because I'm going to reuse mine. And we go. Make sure it's in there securely. Don't strip anything. It's going to be a pain to work with it if you strip it. Okay, so it moves. Since we can remove that, I'll just go ahead and remove it. Have my paper towels ready in case it starts dripping from the back. So far, so good. No drips. Now I'm going to go ahead and open the drain. But before I do, I like to stick my finger in this hole just to see how far, how deep. The fluid level is right at the hole. So that means even if I cannot approximately measure 1.4 liters, aka 3 pints, I'll just fill it up till it starts dripping. Then that's when I'll stop. Of course, you have to make sure that your vehicle is level. Okay. So now we're going for this. There you go. It's draining now. I was just trying to regulate the flow. While that's still draining, I'm going to go ahead and wipe my plugs clean. As you can see, this one's got, it's magnetic. It's got some metal shavings in it. Understandable. I mean, you have metal against metal in there. And I have no other information, so I'm just going to assume that for the last 195,000 miles, none of this, this vehicle has not had this kind of service. I think it's a valid assumption considering when I got the vehicle at 190, they had not performed the factory recalls. So if, you know, my assumption is that if you're not going to be diligent enough to do a free recall, probably not motivated to do extra stuff either. Well, that and the fact that the vehicle had a blown engine when I got it, which is usually due to oil neglect, usually. So I'm going to try my best to clean these up while that still keeps dripping. I'll go get my B12 chem tool, wipe this up, do the same to the fill plug. I kind of wiped it and it had a little bit of gunk in there, just a little bit. So I'm going to clean them all, clean these washers that, remember, you're not supposed to reuse. That's all I'm going to say about that. Then next time I'll pull the video, next time I pull out the camera, we'll be showing the fill process. One thing I did not talk about, you might have caught this in other scenes, is this. This is all I'm using. And I'll talk about why it's as short as it is. You'll see the benefit in a few minutes. You'll notice it's still dripping. I'm not going to wait for it to completely stop. I mean, I could go to the front and jack the car, make sure it drains as much as possible, but thing is, whatever I'm putting in is definitely better than whatever was in there, right? That's how I'm looking at it. So on the for the replacement part of it, you want to put the drain first so that all the nice fluid you put in there obviously does not drain all out. I already cleaned it as best as I could, cleaned the mating surfaces of both the plug, the pumpkin rear cover, as well as the washer. Of course, when you use a new washer, you don't have to, well, it's not a bad habit to clean it, I guess, but you will not necessarily have to. So I'm going to do this. And the next steps are just me putting it, you know, tightening this. Then we'll go to the filling part of it, okay? So read the spec, torque, and torque it to spec. I'll set the camera down. Okay, now comes the fun part, filling it. So we're going to do a dry run right now. Make sure this thing is actually closed. I can't remember if they have foil or not. Yes, it's got some sort of a barrier, right? Okay, so the way I usually do it is this. And this is the reason I have this. This is the reason I have this pretty short member over here. So I put it over the, it's a 3/8 tube, by the way. Put it over here. Force it in. Then feed this bottle. So I guess you put a finger or something. You'll find a way to do it. Like this. Over, I feed it over. You could have it straight back. Let me hold it with the other hand. You could have it straight back like this. Right? See it? It's right just beside that member. Then feed it into the hole. Feed it into the hole there. The shorter the better. The more maneuverable it's going to be. So there it is. Then squeeze away. Right? Or you could do it the other way, which is pull everything out. Feed it through here, which is going to be a lot messier. it's going over this member, right? Not much of a fight right now. Find a way to bend that. Oh, it's bent. It's kind of hard to record it that way. Then feed this into the hole. And as you can see now, you have gravity kind of helping you. Either way, by the time this is almost finished, you know, you could squeeze it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to feed it here until it starts dripping, because I mentioned that it is the fluid before draining it was right at So on my half used one, I had already cut this to the length I want it to be. So that's how I'm going to work it. I'm just going to use this cap and I move it in between, you know, from bottle to bottle. Found one that's even shorter. I'm going to try to use that. It's about an inch shorter. Hopefully makes a dramatic difference to the fitment. So here we go. Then I found another one even shorter. It's about 1.5 inches or so. But we're going to try it. Seems to work very well. It started dripping off the sides, but I know it's not correct. That's not the correct level. I need more. So I'm going to open yet another one. Okay, this might be it. And so coming back on the pipe. We'll have to find out. There it is. You see it drip? I hope the video can capture that dripping. It's dripping off the side because I wouldn't say overfilled, but it's just part of the sequence. And of course, catch it. I cut it a little too late, but still, it's dripping into that tub. Once it settles adequately, then just go ahead and plug it back up. And here I have the plug ready. Okay. With the filling, I'm going to be a little more patient. I'll wait till it actually stops dripping or stops running off the side. I have been a little more patient with the filling part of it, waiting for it to drip and even out. But I think I'm at a good point, so I'm just going to plug it back up. And remember, get the Torx spec and torque it to spec. For now, this is it. I'm just going to tighten this back up, wipe up the pumpkin. Okay, and just like that, it's over. So safely lower your vehicle and get back to enjoying it. Remember the part I said where an alternate way would be to feed it through the wheel well. I was talking about buy a long pipe. Okay, so this is the alternate way I was talking about. Buy a long tube. So locate the pumpkin, and you can see where the drain is, way over there. You see it? Way over there, right? So get a long tube and feed it all the way up here, and you can just gravity drip your bottle all the way from the wheel well area into the pumpkin. If you chose to do it like that, that way maybe you'll waste less. But I don't mind buying these bottles because I pretty much have the same kind of cars. They all use the same fluid. So even if I buy more than 2 bottles, I know I'm going to use them up at some point. Plus, you don't do this service very often. So just make sure, whatever method you choose, don't try to short yourself by saving a few ounces here and there. Do whatever you got to do. You don't do this very often. Okay, good luck.